body and rushed into an unknown world. Chu Xingqian turned to his system and asked if it was pumping energy out of him the same way the system of the guy with the spots on his face was doing. The system was indignant. She did not understand how a guy could accuse her of such vileness. Then the system invited Chu Xingqian to come with her. The guy was surprised to find himself in an unknown place. But the system immediately explained that this was its system space. She also said that she had collected a copy of all the knowledge that was stored in the scroll. Later, the system will study them and see what they can do. The system said that it is very rare that anyone is allowed to get inside the system. But she did it because they are the closest partners, and they have no secrets from each other. She also explained that she was trying to figure out where that other system that the enemy had came from. But as soon as the system began to dig in this direction, it self-destructed. Furthermore, it turned out that the system's inability to connect to the heavenly path had something to do with that other fake system. The system also added that the guy has enough energy to increase his level. Chu Xingqian said that now the system somehow calmly and casually tells him this, as if by chance. Whereas before there were a lot of special effects and movement, the system said that she previously wanted to impress the guy and therefore accompanied such messages with various tinsel. Now they are close friends and there is no longer any need for this. The system also reported that although it cannot yet create legendary artifacts, it can conjure with these fragments, and maybe something will work out. True, to synthesize complex subjects you need a lot of knowledge, and the system promised that it will study a lot, especially since it has a bunch of books on all sorts of topics. The system added that she would be the smartest system and the guy would be the strongest warrior, and together they would conquer this world. Chu Xingqian asked, "Since the system has so much literature, perhaps it has something on pig breeding." The system got angry, and the guy added that it doesn't have to be pigs. Other animals will do. He just decided to start farming. Without hesitation, the system kicked the guy out of its internal space. Chu Xingqian returned to the secret world and was immediately approached. A frightened, intelligent demon came running to the guy. Chu Xingqian said that he hoped that everyone in the village had calmed down. The demon said that everyone had calmed down, but as a result of the riot, almost all the crops were trampled. The swamp demons hung their heads sadly and said that they knew they were guilty and that they were ready to be punished. To which Chu Xingqian rightly objected that they were victims of external influence, and it would be unfair to punish them. Suddenly, the guy growled that he would cut his throat, return to the real world, and kill the asshole who had violated the idyll in their settlement. The demons began to beg Chu Xingqian not to abandon them to the will of fate. The swamp demons said that if the guy leaves, they will face starvation, because all the crops are trampled and they no longer want to eat poop. Chu Xingqian promised not to leave the demons to their fate. The guy said that he had not grown many fast-growing seeds for staple food before, but he has the seeds of fast-growing corn, the fastest-growing crop of all the major crops. The guy's fantasies flew into the future, where he lived in a cozy house, and there were a lot of green crops and all kinds of vegetables around. Chu Xingqian quickly woke up from his fantasies and said that there was one problem. He had never worked with this corn before. People and swamp demons began to wonder why the guy ignored such a valuable crop. Chu Xingqian said because it is not tasty. The taste does not resemble ordinary corn, but beeswax. But the guy added that this crop grows very quickly, and therefore tomorrow the whole village will plant corn to avoid hunger. While Chu Xingqian was solving food issues, the fox heard an unpleasant whisper behind her. The fox listened and realized that they were talking about her. About the fact that she is a fox. The girl realized that everything was lost. Her origin had been discovered, and now she was in great danger. People whispered about her behind her back, how she got here, and what intrigues she was up to. Lisa wondered how she gave herself away. She always tried to be careful and not reveal herself completely to anyone. But then she remembered that under the influence of the artifact of the guy with spots on his face, she showed her real face. Although Chu Xingqian had complete control over her, others saw her essence. The next morning, a new scandal broke out in the long-suffering village. The princess was furious that she was offered to take up farming on an equal basis with the others. The princess was also outraged by the meager breakfast. The demon's explanation that these were steamed sweet potatoes infuriated the girl. She grabbed her hammer and screamed that they wanted to force her to work to feed the swamp demons. If Hao Geng had not arrived in time, the demon would have had a bad time. The princess, in a rage, was capable of destroying the entire village, and all that would be left of the demon would be a wet spot. Then Chu Xingqian appeared and said that it was his idea to plow the land, and that the princess will plant seeds not for the demon, but for herself. The guy turned to the nearest demon and asked what they ate before he came. The swamp demon began to hesitate and mumble something incomprehensible. Finally, he said that they often had to eat poop. This left those present in complete shock. The demon said that he knew it was very terrible, but he was hungry and there was nothing to eat. The girls were even disgusted to listen to such revelations of swamp monsters. The demon added that there was normal food, but the Swamp King took it all for himself. Chu Xingqian threw the princess a shoe and said that the only way to get normal food is to work. The princess objected that only farmers engage in agriculture. She also said, "Isn't it the people's duty to work to feed their princess?" To this, Chu Xingqian said that they have a different rule in the village. Only those who work can eat. Then the guy shouted at those gathered to gawk at the capricious princess so that everyone should leave to work. Hao Geng said that she was going to do work for the princess in order to give her the opportunity to eat. The princess just snorted in response to this. And she said that she would not eat a single piece of Chu Xingqian's food even if she was dying of hunger. Hao Geng tried to reason with her mistress, but it was useless. The princess slammed the door and said that we'll see if Instructor Chu will starve the royal person to death. At this time, the system scolded Chu Xingqian for not knowing how to treat the princess. The guy made excuses that he was the boss in the swamp, and justice was above all. Chu Xingqian stated that if someone gets something for nothing, then all the value of the work is lost. The system advised the guy to increase his intimacy with girls, then she would give him a valuable gift. Chu Xingqian had one ace up his sleeve to get the girls to do what he wanted. It was a pretense, and the guy was good at it. In the garden, Instructor Chu patiently explained that the manure must first be spread over the beds. Then, the seeds are planted in the garden bed. But the guy drew the attention of the listeners that the seeds need to be planted between the manure, because if you put a seed on the manure, it will be burned. Well, the last stage of sowing, but mandatory. It was necessary to water the bed so that the seeds had enough moisture and seedlings appeared as quickly as possible. Shu Zuowu carefully followed the process, and then said that there was nothing complicated and that he wanted to try it himself. True, the noble guy got down to business too zealously, and the earth flew in all directions. But Chu Xingqian had already turned his attention to another person. It was Hao Geng, who could barely move her legs from fatigue, but the girl was persistent and did not let go of the hoe. The girl asked Chu Xingqian not to cut the princess's rations and that she would do all the work for her mistress. The guy said that he didn't want to offend the princess, and he came up with a plan to solve this problem. He asked Hao Geng to support his plan and not hand him over to the princess. Meanwhile, Her Highness was sat at the window. She was not pleased with either the good weather or the calm, everyday life of the village where everyone worked harmoniously. The princess was very hungry. It seemed to her that she had never been so hungry in her life. Her Highness harbored a grudge against Chu Xingqian and decided that after the exam, she would ask her father to punish the harmful guy. The princess was distracted from her sad thoughts by the conversation of two swamp demons. One demon invited another to dinner after a hard day of work. His opponent objected that it was not hard work, but on the contrary, it was very pleasant to work in the company of such good people. The princess also heard that the demons were talking about her. They laughed that the fat girl was lazy to work and only wanted to eat. Her Highness could not bear such an insult. The princess literally began to smoke, and shouting that she would kill the creatures, climbed through the open window. Faithful Hao Geng arrived and began to calm her mistress. The girl offered the princess food, but Her Highness resolutely refused and said that Hao Geng was at the same time with them. The princess slammed the door in the face of her faithful assistant and shouted that she would not eat a single bite until Chu Xingqian came to her to ask for forgiveness. The next day in the evening, it seemed to the princess that her stomach began to digest itself. Her Majesty could not sleep from the pangs of hunger. As soon as she closed her eyes, the tables at the magnificent banquets in her father's castle began to float before her eyes, bending with delicious dishes. The princess even thought she could smell these delicacies, but the girl sniffed again and jumped up on the bed. The smell was real, not imaginary, and the princess became very excited. Her Highness simply choked on her saliva from the delicious smell. Impatiently, she ran to the door and ran out into the yard. A satisfied Chu Xingqian sat in the courtyard and fried sweet potatoes, which had a simply divine aroma. But as soon as the princess saw her tormentor, she returned to the house, loudly slamming the door. But the cunning Chu Xingqian stuck his head through the window and told the princess that he had come to apologize to her, and, as a sign of repentance, had prepared fried potatoes for her. The guy said that he would be very grateful if the princess accepted his treat. Her Highness held back as long as she could. But she was literally choking on her saliva because she had not eaten for several days. In the end, even a princess is not alien to anything human. And the princess snatched the potatoes from the guy's hands and began to swallow them greedily, forgetting about decency. Chu Xingqian told the princess to calm down and promised that everything would be fine now. Her Highness was thinking at this time why she was so useless and ended up in such a stupid situation. The princess was even more surprised that such primitive village food suddenly turned out to be so tasty. After finishing the potatoes, Her Highness decided to forgive Chu Xingqian and demanded more food from him. The guy said that he did not have time to bake more and said that the princess could do it herself. Chu Xingqian explained that you need to bury the potatoes in the ashes and wait a few minutes for them to cook, to which the princess replied that it would take a long time and she had something suitable for this purpose. The girl took out her fire hammer and fried potatoes on it. Chu Xingqian began to cry that it was impossible to bake potatoes on an open fire, because this way they would be burned. At this time, an intelligent demon passed nearby and drew attention to the potatoes that the princess had turned into coal. The demon said that the potatoes looked very tasty and had a crispy crust. He asked permission to try one potato. He remembered the guy's instructions to praise the princess so that she wouldn't bake. Even if it's not tasty, you have to say that everything is just great. Having tasted the princess's potatoes, the bald, intelligent demon instantly developed thick hair. The potatoes cooked by the princess looked like gold bars. The texture inside was wonderful and the sweet aroma warmed the heart as soon as it hit the lips and tongue. The demon was still admiring the amazing taste. And Chu Xingqian was amazed to see that the intelligent demon had grown thick hair. The demon put a potato in the guy's mouth and told him to try it. He won't regret it if he does this. Chu Xingqian tasted it and said that the potatoes were indeed very tasty. Another bald demon passed by, and shouting that potatoes make hair grow, he began to beg for a potato for himself. The demons began to admire the wonderful taste of potatoes and the rapid growth of hair after it. The princess looked with surprise at the results of her work. For the first time in her life, she was praised for something she actually did. Chu Xingqian also came over and said that the potatoes were simply delicious. He himself had never been able to do this. The princess was flattered and thought it was all very cool. Chu Xingqian at this time announced that this was the best food in the world and the entire village deserved to eat such great food. The guy turned to the princess and said that he had a request for her. The request was that Her Majesty bake more potatoes, so that there would be enough for the whole village. Chu Xingqian respectfully addressed the princess and asked her to become the chief cook of the village. All the swamp demons and people began to ask for the same. The flattered princess could not refuse so many who wanted it and destroy their hopes for decent food. Then the cries began like, "Long live the princess, the great cook!" This pleased Her Majesty very much. Chu Xingqian smiled cheerfully. Apparently his cunning plan almost succeeded. The guy thought that he had managed to fool another girl and force her to do what he needed. But the system was again unhappy. She said that Chu Xingqian had the wrong approach to girls. At this time, two dissatisfied people heard the guy muttering that he had managed to deceive the princess. While exchanging words, they called Chu Xingqian a vile bastard who deceived their princess. But they couldn't come to Her Majesty and say that she wasn't a chef at all, just that Instructor Chu was deceiving her. Therefore, the evil couple decided to leave the exam and tell in the real world how the vile Chu Xingqian was bullying the princess here in the secret world. At this time, updated assessments of exam participants appeared in the real world. Crowds of people rushed to the ranking of the exam participants. Everyone was greatly surprised that Chu Xingqian was in first place in the ranking. People had no idea who he was, much less what family he came from. Examiner Lu Lian was informed that one candidate died during the exam. The spirits did not have time to save him. From time to time, such an accident happened during an exam. It was worse if a child of a noble family died. The examiner looked at the list and thought that the safety of noble Xu Zuowu and the princess were also at risk. He even thought about stopping the exam. At this time, Lu Lian was informed that two people had failed the exam. They reported that Chu Xingqian had colluded with the fox and the swamp demons and took over the black swamp. It was also reported that Chu Xingqian forced all the noble children to plow the land for the demons, and the princess was forced to bake potatoes. These were all simply unheard of things. There has never been such a scandal during exams before. It was unheard of for a person of royal blood to feed others, much less feed swamp demons. Examiner Lulian thought about it. He had to make a decision urgently. He ran through various options in his head and finally came to the conclusion that Chu Xingqian was probably preparing an uprising. Therefore, Lulian gave the command to immediately close the secret world, and also arrest the troublemaker Chu Xingqian. Soon, the examiner was informed that the formation that was supposed to cover the magical swamp was declared inoperative. Lulian was surprised because he knew that the array was designed by His Majesty himself. There have been no problems with this secret world for many years. The examiner muttered that the incident be reported to the royal family and also announced a gathering of martial emperor-level practitioners from all major families. Passions also flared up in the secret world. Lisa continued to hear more and more conversations about herself behind her. The fox heard that 2 people had already left the secret world to report to the examiner. People said that even the fact that they left the exam without permission would not be a problem. For if they report the fox, they will receive a great reward. Lisa was very unhappy to hear such conversations behind her back. She was not only uncomfortable, she felt her life was in danger. They said that you shouldn't appear near a fox, much less talk to it, so as not to have problems in the future. Chu Xingqian had truly forgotten about his fox ward. At this time, he and the princess were preparing dishes. The guy tried another concoction that the princess had prepared. The dish turned out to be simply incredibly tasty. Chu Xingqian had no idea that such a noble and proud person could cook so deliciously. The guy sincerely praised the princess and said that he admired her talent as a cook. Haogeng was shocked by the changes that had happened to her mistress in such a short time. The princess gained confidence in herself and her abilities, as well as a sparkle in her eyes. She was so skillful in handling kitchen tools and lighting the stove that others could only envy her. How? Gung had no idea that Her Highness would enjoy cooking so much. The girl had never seen the princess so joyful and satisfied with life. But then Hao Ging noticed something that she really didn't like. She thought that the growing friendship between the princess and Chu Xingqian could turn into something more. They spend so much time together every day. This relationship wouldn't stand a chance. The girl imagined with what anger her father would attack her mistress if he found out about such a relationship. But what could Hao Gong do if she was a subordinate and had no say? She couldn't decide what the princess should do and what not. The princess was delighted with Chu Xingqian. She even said that he reminds her a lot of her own mother. This news made Hao Gong vomit. She saw no resemblance between the young guy and the old empress. The princess explained that she enjoyed watching her mother cook. But Her Majesty's eyes filled with tears at these memories. She said that her father did not like her mother's cooking at all. He believed that this was a disgrace to their entire family. The princess added that after the death of her mother, her father and brother spent little time with her due to their constant employment. Her Majesty said that if Chu Xingqian were a woman, she would want him to be her mother. Hao Geng was horrified by such desires of the princess, but life in the village went on as usual, and the long-awaited day finally came when the system informed Chu Xingqian that he had achieved success in relationships with all the girls and completed the mission accordingly. The guy was very happy and told the system that it had promised him something for this mission. In the field at this time, both people and swamp demons were languishing from the heat and hard work. The intelligent demon muttered that he was already on his feet, and he still had to collect corn that day. A strong rumble and rumble frightened the fox and Shizua Wu, who were working peacefully together. And all the people and swamp demons were horrified when they saw that a huge growling and rumbling monster was approaching them. The monster had sparkling eyes, made loud growling sounds, and had a strange smell. And at the same time, it was so large that both demons and people could freely pass under its belly. The astonished cries of people and swamp demons merged into a chorus of horror. But then a cheerful Chu Xingqian emerged from the insides of the monster and greeted everyone. Since Shizua Wu was the most educated here, he asked the guy if this was his locomotive. Chu Xingqian replied that it was almost a steam locomotive, or to be more precise, it was a tractor. Then the guy's gaze fell on the amazed and gape fox. Chu Xingqian saw that she had been walking around like herself lately. He caught the fox by the scruff of the neck and said that he would show her the full power of the technique. The guy started the rattling machine again, and the fox screamed in horror. Chu Xingqian laughed and said that the fox should stop yelling, because the tractor was not going to bite it, much less eat it. The fox screamed that the guy immediately released her and that she hated this thundering monster. Chu Xingqian objected that this monster would make their life much easier, relieve them of the hardest work, and they would receive a lot of delicious food in return. From the next jerk of the powerful tractor, the pensive fox rolled head over heels under the seat. Chu Xingqian fished the fox out from under the chair and asked it why it looked so lost. But the girl did not want to answer. The guy said that the fox apparently forgot that he could be trusted, and that he will cover the fox no matter what happens. Chu Xingqian told the fox that she hadn't done anything wrong, so she shouldn't hide and be afraid of anything. The guy said that if they run around the girl, she should immediately tell him, and he will solve the problem. Chu Xingqian took the microphone in his hand and cleared his throat, checking the sound. The swamp demons were surprised to hear the voice of their beloved instructor Chu from the depths of the thundering monster. Everyone turned to the tractor in surprise and began to listen to what the guy was saying. He said that there has been a lot of gossip about the fox lately. Chu Xingqian said angrily that apparently they live too well and have nothing to do except gossip. The guy added that whoever treats the forest badly will leave the village miserably. He's not going to keep any spiteful critics here. And to consolidate everything that was said, Chu Xingqian said that he would add a competition. Whoever pleases and makes the fox laugh the most will teach him to drive a tractor. The fox attacked the guy with her fists and moaned that he had apparently lost his mind. But at that very moment, the fox's popularity began to increase, and she immediately had to wave her hands to new fans. The girl was not at all happy about her rapidly increasing popularity. The fox was used to leading a secretive lifestyle, but here, people literally climbed into the windows to express their gratitude to her or tell her that they loved her. Soon, a crowd of fox fans surrounded the tractor from all sides, and the girl simply did not know where to go. For the fox, so much attention to her person was even worse than the gossip that people used to say behind her back. The news of the new competition even reached the plantation of medicinal plants. People and demons talked among themselves and said that if you confess your love to the fox, you can easily ride a tractor. Even the girl with blue hair noticed the general excitement and the new topic of conversation. The beauty decided that this was apparently Chu Xingqian's new idea, and that it's just in time. A few days ago, a girl tried to talk to the fox to help her, but she ran away in fear of causing trouble to others. Now the fox had to run from crowds of crazy fans, and Chu Xingqian had to give driving instruction to the swamp demons. In the evenings, the guy played cards with the noble Shi Zuo Wu. The system was poring over textbooks at this time, drinking tonic drinks. The princess, with all the passion of her high birth, began to cook. And the demons, for the first time in their lives, felt what the happiness of a well-fed life was. An intelligent demon kept a diary of affairs in the village. Chu Xingqian got his own secretary because there were too many things to keep in one head. So long days turned into weeks and weeks into months. Neither people nor the swamp demons expected that a whole 6 months of life and work together would pass so unnoticed. Meanwhile, the exam observers were surprised that the participants had stayed in the secret world for so long. After all, 14 hours had already passed since the start of the exam, and night had begun. And in 14 hours, according to the time of the secret world, a whole 6 months passed. It was rumored that Chu Xingqian was forcibly detaining the princess and the children of the noble families. Just at this time, an urgent council had gathered, where representatives of the 4 great clans came. Indignant exclamations were directed at Lu Lian. They asked him where he was looking and how he could allow such disgrace during the exam. The head of the Shi family, Baijin, shouted that there had been no access to the exam for 14 hours, and her son was being forced to work. The woman imagined a picture of Shi Zuo Wu's being used by the swamp demons as a draft horse. The examiner advised that there was no way to get inside during the exam to prevent cheating. And it was not he who personally came up with these rules. These rules were developed by the ruler of the sacred state. Lu Lian added that there was already a request to the ruler to help get out of a difficult situation. The examiner added that although access is currently prohibited, every 24 hours the secret world is automatically open to accept participants in the next exam. The noble parents began to shout that it was easy for Lu Lian to reason, because his children were not there. What is it like for them to wait another 10 hours, not knowing what is happening to their children? Everyone began to grumble that their daughters remained in the secret world, and Chu Xingqian continued to mock them. A sharp sound like the crack of breaking wood stopped everyone's hysteria. The head of the Shui family, Shui Moxiang, said that it was time for everyone to calm down and wait for the ruler's answer, which should come soon. The old woman also added that she knows one way to see what is happening in the secret world. Everyone looked at her in amazement and disbelief. Those present really wanted to see what was happening to their children. At this time, the sun was shining brightly in the secret world. Farming has borne fruit and has significantly improved the ecology of the Black Swamp. But spots and lines suddenly began to appear in the sun, which became more and more every minute.
Gradually, these foreign things on the sun turned into a huge eye with a bright blue pupil in the middle.
Demons and people were horrified by this transformation of the sun. Some people began to lament that the end of the world had come. Someone smart ordered that they sent for Chu Xingchen. All the villagers know that the guy can solve any problem. In the real world, they now saw everything that was happening in the secret world. Old lady Shui Moxiang said that the surveillance seal would not last long, but at least they would be able to see their children and assess their condition. Shizuo Wu's mother looked into the secret world with interest and anxiety. She really wanted to see her son. Then she saw a man with red hair. She muttered that her son was really plowing. When Shizuo Wu turned his head towards the sun, his mother recoiled from the screen in horror. She did not recognize her son in this tanned aboriginal farmer. Another mother, seeing a man with blue hair in a crowd of demons, exclaimed that her daughter was being attacked by crowds of evil monsters. Taking a closer look, the observers saw that it was indeed a girl with blue hair among the swamp demons. But someone asked to move the camera to the right in order to see some fast-moving monster. Upon closer inspection, it turned out that it was a kind of red steam locomotive. True, it seemed strange to those watching why the locomotive drove back and forth, constantly turning around. Suddenly, the observers saw that the locomotive stopped and a child got out. A cute little girl came out of the locomotive and pulled on her black glasses to look at the sun. The girl saw an eye in the sun, extended her left hand up and showed the middle finger to the observers. Those present looked in amazement at the girl in black glasses, but no one could recognize her. It turned out that earlier, in order to help the fox protect itself, Chu Xingchen taught it courage. Among other things, the guy taught the fox to show the middle finger in order to stand up for himself. But either Chu Xingchen overdid it, or the fox learned too well. She became too impudent and now showed her fuck even to the sun. The intelligent demon rushed to the fox to stop her, and so that she would not cause problems for herself. But then the attention of the swamp demon and the fox was attracted by the screams of an approaching girl. The girl with blue hair explained that it was an observation seal. Her mother owns this seal. True, the beauty noted that using the observation seal is against the rules, and she does not understand why her mother does it. The girl asked where Mr. Chu was. The demon replied that the mentor was fishing in the pond. She said that she needed to go to him and consult. Observers were surprised to find that humans and demons got along well with each other. One worried mother said they needed to look for her daughter. She said that her daughter has always been an honest and stubborn child, and therefore she is afraid that Chu Xingchen is keeping her locked up. In the clear azure water, it was clearly visible how the sharply sharpened shaft, after a well-aimed throw by the hunter, pierced the fish. This dexterous and cheerful hunter turned out to be Hao Geng. The girl in the bathing suit was happy that there would be delicious fried fish for dinner. True, her father, seeing his daughter in such a revealing outfit in front of a young man, fainted. His first words when he came to his senses were the words about why his daughter was dressed so openly and shamelessly. Indeed, the girls were not only skilled fishermen, but they were also real beauties. And tight swimsuits well emphasized the dignity of their figures. True, Chu Xingchen was not in the mood. It seemed that he was not at all interested in the beauties splashing in the water. Even the system advised the guy to take advantage of the moment and enjoy the beauty of youth and enthusiasm. At this time, Chu Xingchen was thinking that perhaps he should have taken the princess and the fox with him on the fishing trip. Then the girls shouted at the guy to look at the sun. Chu Xingchen raised his head and was surprised to see a huge, nasty eye in the sky instead of the sun. The guy was surprised and got up from his seat to better see the strange phenomenon. But just at that moment, the eye closed. At this time, a girl with blue hair and a fox came running. Both were out of breath and began to babble something vying with each other. Finally, the guys gathered together at a wide table to discuss this unprecedented and amazing phenomenon. The beauty said that she needed to get out of the exam as soon as possible. Something probably happened outside the secret world. The girl immediately heard a chorus of objections. The princess wanted to continue cooking. Shizuo Wu wanted to continue farming. And the demon was completely afraid that after the people left, dark, vile times would come again. Chu Xingchen admitted that perhaps those two informers said something to the examiner, and something bad happened in the real world. The sad fox dejectedly took off his sunglasses. She suspected it was all about her. After all, it was discovered and apparently already brought to the real world. The girl with blue hair also added fuel to the fire. She said they couldn't stay here all their lives anyway. Finally, Chu Xingchen announced that it was time to stop arguing and get ready for the trip to the real world tomorrow. The guy told the demons that it was necessary to solve the problem in the real world in any case, because the Black Swamp may suffer. But nothing can be resolved here. Chu Xingchen said that he taught the demons everything he knew. And then they are able to work themselves in order to provide themselves with a good, well-fed life. The next morning, near the Swamp Fog Ridge, a farewell to the departing people took place. Over the past 6 months, people and swamp demons have become very close friends, and parting was quite difficult. The demons rushed to hug the girl with blue hair and patted Shizuo Wu on the shoulder in a friendly manner. The princess was worried that the demons would have good food in the future, and Chu Xingchen was thinking about whether he would still have the opportunity to engage in farming in the future. Some people hung their heads dejectedly, some simply cried, others silently looked at each other. It was also difficult for Chu Xingchen to leave the place where he had put so much effort and work. Together, they went through many trials, matured, gained strength and wisdom. The swamp demons were afraid to fall into the clutches of some tyrant again, as was the case before the guy came to their village. Finally, Chu Xingchen announced that it was time to leave. New challenges and adventures await them ahead. By the end, literally everyone was crying. Only Instructor Chu tried to console and cheer everyone up. He shouted that from now on and forever, in this place water would flow, the grass would turn green, and the clear sun would shine in the blue sky. The bespectacled demons' glasses were flooded with tears, and they could see almost nothing. Chu Xingchen shouted that they would see each other again in a bright future. As they moved, the guy and the fox again held each other. The guy grabbed a strand of the girl's hair, and she frantically grabbed his belt. Hao Geng's mother was indignant. She screamed that Chu Xingchen was a shameless libertine who forced her daughter to fish half-naked. The examiner said that the girl looked cheerful when she was fishing. She looked like she was having so much fun. Modai, who was also on the council, thought that the guy was very stupid, and he probably didn't understand that for his own safety, it was better to stay in the shadows. Just at that moment, they reported that all the children who remained there had passed the exam. Many people wanted to see what Chu Xingchen looked like. Many people have heard about him and very bad things. But no one knew what this mysterious guy looked like. Chu Xingchen appeared before those eager to see him in all his glory with his bare bottom. While moving, he and the fox were separated again, and the fox tore the belt off the guy. The rest of the exam participants looked pretty good. But their leader, Instructor Chu, stood without pants. There were shouts about what a pervert he was and why he didn't wear pants. The guy caught himself and picked up his fallen pants, mentally cursing the fox who set him up like that. Shizuo Wu and the blue-haired girl looked completely different from themselves when they entered the exam half a day ago. When the noble Shizuo Wu joyfully greeted his mother, she recoiled from him in fear. Even the guy's voice changed. He became louder and more masculine. He said that he was glad to see his mother and brought her gifts that he had grown with his own hands. Mother pulled Shizuo Wu away. She said that he had forgotten that she taught him to keep his mouth shut in public. She asked the guy why he was wearing rags and where his earrings were. Shizuo Wu replied that he had lost all his jewelry to Instructor Chu at cards. Shizuo Wu told his mother that he wanted to introduce her to his lifelong best friend, Chu Xingchen. The guy was just being escorted past with his hands tied behind his back by 2 guards. But then both the princess and Shizuo Wu attacked the guards. And they said who allowed them to detain their master and brother. The guards reported that Chu Xingchen is the main suspect and that he is accused of colluding with the swamp demons and the fox. And also that he forced children of noble birth to work. The princess objected that frying potatoes was her favorite thing in her life, and Instructor Chu did not force her at all. Her Highness proudly announced that she was now a 2-star martial artist. Shizuo Wu said that he had also promoted his rank. The guy plowed 50 acres of land every day and developed his body to the limit of human capabilities. The examiner and well-born parents were simply shocked by such revelations from their children. The beauty reported that she had to heal crowds of swamp demons every day, constantly depleting her spiritual power. And now she has reached 3 stars. Hao Geng also proudly stated that she was at the same level. She also managed to learn new techniques. Chu Xingchen was very pleased that the children of the country's highest families said that they had fun farming. The guy smiled wryly, seeing how offended the children's well-born parents looked. Chu Xingqian thought that they had done a lot for both the Black Swamp and themselves, so all the gossip should have been dispelled. The girls attacked the adults with indignation. How dare they even think about arresting their master? They said that because of two liars, a good and kind person could have suffered. But then new accusations fell on Chu Xingqian that he was in cahoots with the insidious fox. People said it was disgusting to harbor such a terrible demon. Such conversations greatly outraged the princess. She hated injustice. Suddenly, a tall, slender guy turned familiarly to the princess and said that he was glad to see her in good health. The princess was very happy to see her older brother. The guy said with a smile that it seemed like he had arrived at the right moment. The princess rushed to hug her older brother. She said that she really missed him. The highborn brother said that he heard that the princess spent half a year in the time of the secret world. He asked if she had any problems. The princess said that everything was fine thanks to Instructor Chu, who saved her from the pervert. Her Majesty noticed that Chu Xingqian was still being held by the guards and became indescribably furious. She then whispered to her brother that Master Chu was definitely a useful person and that he could help them deal with Lan Feng. The prince laughed and said that this master was apparently the second brother of the princess. But the girl assured that she only has one brother. The princess's brother thought about something and then addressed the guards. He said there is currently no law against working with foxes. Moreover, he did not hear that the fox did anything bad. The prince said that there was no need to keep Chu Xingqian in custody. People whispered around in surprise. The prince added that this guy saved the princess, re-educated the demons, and taught the children many crafts. He noted that with such characteristics he could enter the academy. There were objections from the crowd that the Divine Moon Academy did not accept such students. The academy elder stated that the fox is an ancient monster and must be destroyed. He added that he could not argue with the prince to judge Chu Xingqian, but he is obliged to control the students who enter the academy. The elder added that Chu Xingqian was hiding a fox, and there were a lot of bad rumors about him. With such a reputation, it is impossible to be a student at the best academy in the country. Suddenly suspecting something, the old man asked Modai if she knew this Chu Xingqian. The cunning girl replied that she did not know him. The girl understood that the prince wanted to recruit Chu Xingqian. But her grandfather was a supporter of another prince, and therefore will not listen to this. The princess shouted that Master Chu was very smart and gifted, and that he did not need the academy. She said she also wouldn't go to an academy that didn't accept the brightest students. Shu Zouwu said that he would not abandon his best friend and also refused to return to the academy. How? Gung said that she was also joining the boycott of Divine Moon Academy. At this time, Shu Zouwu's mother tried to reason with the overly determined guy. Adults tried to rein in their naughty children, but they were not very amenable to discipline. Then, one person came out and said that Chu Xingqian took first place in the exam. And since the academy did not accept him, he offered to take the gifted guy to the Wujin school. The guy promised Chu Xingqian good conditions for studying and even said that he would allow him to bring a fox to school. But another representative invited Chu Xingqian to Qinshan School. He said that their school was the strongest in terms of pills. The guy was also invited to Siu School, where there are a lot of beautiful girls. School officials became so excited that a fight could have started. The best students always ended up in the Divine Moon Academy. Now they have the opportunity to take the best student for themselves. And the guy was literally torn apart, beckoning to them. The princess did not like this mess. She saw that her masters were about to be torn to pieces, but then a single hand rose up. Its owner achieved general silence. It was a young representative from the Wuxian school. Looks like he's got something going. Then, the representative told Chu Xingqian, whose shirt had already been torn by that time, that at his school, the guy would be able to engage in farming. With such a proposal, the choice of school for Chu Xingqian was obvious. He immediately accepted the Wujin school's offer. For the guy, it was the highest bliss to engage in agriculture. He couldn't even believe that the school could give him such an opportunity. The examiner told Chu Xingqian that he should think carefully about everything and not accept hasty proposals, but the guy did not pay attention to this. The academy elder muttered that these school representatives must be crazy. But it's good that he himself did not lose his prudence. The prince stated that the best student in the exams was always rewarded by the royal family. And since the guy also saved the princess, the prince will allow Chu Xingqian to choose something from the royal treasury. Chu Xingqian was very surprised at the honor shown to him. Moreover, He was favored by a person from the imperial family. And the fox did not appear with everyone else only because she was stuck between worlds. She got caught on a branch with her clothes and made every effort to unhook. Finally, tired of fruitless attempts to free himself, the fox hung its paws down. Viewers were surprised that this year's candidates managed to last so long in the secret world. Finally, rumors spread that the fox had also emerged from the secret world. It was said that she even died of hunger. At this time, it was quite noisy in one of the rooms in the city. The hungry fox devoured the hot food at incredible speed. The girl with blue hair advised the fox to eat slowly, because this way satiety will come much faster. True, the fox only hummed something vaguely in response. The school representative negotiated with the guy about admission and asked him not to be late for the start of classes. The princess told Chu Xingqian that the next day she would take him to the imperial treasury. The princess said that she had a lot to do, but she promised her brother that she would take Instructor Chu to the treasury so that he could choose something he liked. At this time, Shizuo Wu appeared at the door with his displeased mother. Shizuo Wu asked Chu Xingqian if there was somewhere for him to stay in the imperial city, and he offered to live with him for a while. The guy's mother wanted to object, but then a happy princess ran up and said that this was a great idea, and that she will come to visit them. Therefore, Shizuo Wu's mother had to agree. That same night, Chu Xingqian entered Shizuo Wu's luxurious home. The noble guy told Instructor Chu that the fox was nearby, and he could position himself as he pleased. Shizuo Wu wished him a good rest and told him that in case of any difficulties, Instructor Chu should contact him directly. Left alone, Chu Xingqian happily plopped down on the soft bed. And the system did not fail to report that the guy successfully completed the task. The guy really was not a mistake and immediately demanded a reward from the system. The system immediately gave out a gift. A charming voice. It made it possible to control the enemy's mind for 3 seconds. From the sour expression on Chu Xingqian's face, it was clear that he did not like such a reward. The system reported that it was able to make such a valuable reward using a bag of artifacts. The system added that the skill recharge time is 1 day, but it will gradually decrease as its level increases. Chu Xingqian muttered that it would be better if they gave him another tractor. It would be more useful. The system also warned the guy not to use things in public that the old people gave him, so as not to reveal himself. The system suggested that Chu Xingqian use its things. The system praised the guy that in 3 years he had almost become a great martial artist. The system added that all her gifts are very useful and will be useful to the guy in the future. Chu Xingqian looked at his new skill with doubt. The system said that the guy could test it in practice to make sure of its usefulness. The quiet, sunny morning did not foretell anything surprising until Chu Xingqian was about to use his new skill. In the morning, the guy met Shizuo Wu, who was walking with his mother. Chu Xingqian asked his comrade to come closer to him so that he could tell him something in confidence. Behind him, the guy took out a new skill card and used it. He then whispered in Shizuo Wu's ear that he liked to wear women's clothes. At the same moment, the noble guy turned to his mother and said that her dress was beautiful. The mother was surprised because she was wearing her usual dress. She didn't understand where her son got such an interest in her dress. The next moment, Shizuo Wu turned to his mother with a request that she give him her dress to wear. The woman was horrified by this statement. Shouting that he needed a tailor to make a dress for him, Shizuo Wu ran away, and the amazed mother set off in pursuit. Chu Xingqian checked out his new skill, but the system immediately warned him that the skill was not for making fun of his friends. The system also warned that the skill does not affect everyone, so you should not rely on it 100%. At this moment, Chu Xingqian was informed that a princess had come to see him. The princess came with her faithful assistant, Hao Geng. Her Majesty was in high spirits. She rushed towards Instructor Chu, whom she had already missed. Chu Xingqian even closed his eyes for a moment. The princess simply dazzled with her attractiveness. The princess cheerfully announced that she was going to take the guy to the treasury. And then she suggested going to the imperial city. Chu Xingqian couldn't help but say that the princess looked absolutely amazing. The princess was touched. The guy's compliment reminded her of her mother's. The system noticed that the princess seemed to have fallen in love with Chu Xingqian. She praised him that he managed to make the first girl fall in love with him. For most, he evoked only brotherly feelings. The weather was great. It was warm and the birds were singing. On such a day, it was simply wonderful to ride in a comfortable imperial carriage. Time passed unnoticed. And now, they are already in the square where the imperial treasury was located. They got out of the carriage and walked past the few guards. It seemed to Chu Xingchen that there weren't enough people guarding such a valuable object. The princess gently touched the holographic image. Then she stuck her thin, noble fingers in there and turned her hand. Then Her Majesty pressed something, and the space around them sparkled. The next moment, they began to descend down into the mysterious space of the imperial treasury. Chu Xingchen looked around in great amazement. Many floors filled with treasures of the imperial family flashed before him. But now, they were already on the right floor at the final stop. The princess busily said that the guy could only choose a treasure from the first level. She added that the treasures on this floor are of the highest quality. The princess said that she would help the guy choose what interests him. Chu Xingchen asked permission to look around for himself first. The guy used the technique that the old people gave him to find the stone that breaks the seals. Using the golden eye, the guy began to methodically examine the space around him. Chu Xingchen looked around the rows of shelves, but did not find the object he needed. Gradually, the guy searched almost the entire floor, but didn't find the stone that destroys the seals. Chu Xingchen thought that maybe he was not on this floor at all. He could have been in another place. Then the guy unexpectedly noticed an alarming red fog. Then he saw bare, bloody feet slapping on the stone floor. Chu Xingchen heard the words as if someone's people were innocent. The room was filled with fog. The guy lost sight of the princess. The woman continued to repeat that her people were not guilty, that she's the only one who's truly to blame. Then, Chu Xingchen saw the face of a woman who was crying tears of blood. The guy was surprised to discover that it was his Aunt Fox. Chu Xingchen ran after her to catch up. The princess looked after him in surprise. The guy wondered how she could get here. Perhaps it was just his hallucination. The princess asked where Chu Xingchen was running and asked him to wait for her. Aunt Fox continued to move away, moving between the shelves deeper into the imperial treasury. She continued to say that she was the only one to blame, and her people have nothing to do with it. Chu Xingchen had not yet taken off his golden eye, and strange images flashed before him. He saw many foxes screaming and crying tears of blood. Then, the shadowy figure of a mysterious woman appeared. A woman stood near a huge wall with inscriptions. On the table in front of her lay a piece of paper covered with writing. The woman clicked on one of the inscriptions and said the name Chu Xingchen. At this time, not everything was as good on Mount Delulo as before. The old people complained that after Chu Xingchen left, there was no one to clean the hotel. Therefore, they had to draw lots to find out who would clean up. Usually, the one-eyed one drew the unlucky lot, which greatly upset him. Things went on as usual in the city. Fortunately, the weather was always beautiful at this time of year. The examiner finally waited for the guests, who were supposed to clarify the situation with the secret world. High-ranking envoys came for this matter. Just the sight of them evoked awe. The examiner and the envoys greeted each other respectfully. Then the old man began to explain to them the essence of the matter, trying not to miss a single detail. He showed the envoys the demonic swamp formation. The old man said that it was deactivated due to a malfunction of the shut-off showers. Apparently, the formation has been changed. The envoy said that perhaps the formation had not been maintained for too long, which is why the problems arose. In response, the examiner objected that they were conducting scheduled monthly inspections of the formations. The messenger stated that he had heard rumors that the evil swamp demons of this world had turned into good farmers. The old man confirmed this fact. The envoy then declared that this secret place could no longer be used for the examination. The messenger stated that he would return the demon swamp to the real world. He also said that he was especially interested in the guy Chu Xingchen, who was able to make demons turn from evil to good and take up farming. The envoy would like to see him. At this time, the great teacher of the swamp demons was lying on the floor in the imperial treasury, and the frightened princess was fussing around him. Her Majesty perked up when she saw that Chu Xingchen had opened his eyes and began to show signs of life. She told him that he ran somewhere, grabbed one stone, and then lost consciousness. Chu Xingchen realized that the ant's phantom appeared because of this stone in his hand. It turned out to be a stone that was made of grievances, and the guy lost consciousness when he touched it. The guy wondered what his Aunt Fox could have survived. She never told him about her life. The princess asked Chu Xingchen if he had chosen this stone. The guy nodded his head affirmatively. He was going to find out what happened to his Aunt Fox. Her story struck a chord with him. Chu Xingchen returned to Shizuo Wu's house with Her Majesty. It turned out that they arrived just in time. Very important guests wanted to see Chu Xingchen. These were the two envoys who had previously visited examiner Lu Lian. Shizuo Wu began to ask the guy how he liked the imperial treasury, but the mother quickly pulled her son away, telling him to stop chatting, since there were important people in the house. Mother said that these were messengers of God, and they wanted to talk to Chu Xingqian about the exam. Shizuo Wu's mother said that they would not disturb important guests and took her son away. The system informed Chu Xingqian that there was something wrong with the two envoys. They have fake systems. The envoys reported that they had heard rumors about the guy's success in farming. They wondered why such a capable guy did not go to the academy, but went to Jilin school. The envoys reported that the academy had much better resources for students than any school. The system warned the guy not to take rash actions, since the messenger is above the level of the martial king. The envoy invited the guy to study with them, and the system was screaming for Chu Xingqian to leave because the messenger was trying to figure out whether the guy had a system. Chu Xingqian firmly stated that he considers land to be the most valuable resource, and at Jilan school, he is allowed to take up farming. The guy said that if they give him a lot of land for cultivation, he will go over to them. He said that they should understand the joy a person feels when he grows vegetables in his garden. The envoy muttered that he realized that Chu Xingqian was a genius. In parting, the envoy said that if the guy needed help, he could contact them. The envoy patted Chu Xingqian on the shoulder in a friendly manner. True, during this patting, something began to happen while the messenger was touching the guy's shoulder. Chu Xingqian pretended to be a fool, as if he didn't understand anything. He did not want to demonstrate to the envoy that he had revealed his secret. As he was leaving, the envoy informed Chu Xingqian that they would certainly meet again. The guy breathed a sigh of relief when these strange guests finally left. Chu Xingqian plainly complained to the system that this envoy had stuffed an artifact into him. The system said that she warned the guy to leave, but Chu Xingqian did not listen to her. The system added that the good news is that it now has material to work with. She also said that by introducing this artifact, the envoys would know where it was. Chu Xingqian thought about it. Who and for what purpose could need his person to monitor his movements? It seems that on this day, there was an open house at Shizuo Wu's house. The guests arrived literally one after another. Now a girl with blue hair has come to visit. Shizuo Wu asked the girl what she was doing here. The mother shouted at the guy to invite a guest into the house, instead of asking stupid questions. The mother handed the guy the package that the girl had brought and said that it was a herbal bath in which he should soak for 3 days. Mother said that school would start 3 days earlier so that Shizuo Wu would not be lured to another school. The mother added that the herbal bath would return the boy's skin to its original color. The guy was indignant, shouting that it doesn't matter to a knight whether his skin is tanned or not. Tired of arguing with her son, the mother plunged his head straight into the bath to shut him up at least for a while. Wujin Academy is located in the northeast of the Jialan Imperial Country, next to the Endless Sea. The academy was located on 10 islands, and the main part of the area was covered by sea rivers. The best means of transportation to reach such a remote place was a flying ship. The landscapes during such a trip were simply fantastic. However, judging by the appearance, Chu Xingqian did not really enjoy the beautiful scenery. It also seemed strange to the fox to move high in the sky next to migratory birds. For the princess, such a trip was commonplace. She was really interested in why Shizuo Wu dressed so tightly. The guy told the exhausted princess that after the herbal bath, his skin was too sensitive and now could not stand sunlight. Then the princess noticed something strange and immediately forgot about Shizuo Wu's strange clothes. The guy wearing a floppy hat put 2 fingers together and tilted them. The ship suddenly began to rock violently. This was surprising because there was no strong wind, but something definitely started to happen to the ship. The ship began to lie on its side. Screams of frightened people were heard. Everyone grabbed what they could to avoid falling out. Chu Xingqian fell over the side and was supported only by his hands. The fox completely unhooked and could have fallen. True, out of old habit, the fox grabbed the guy's belt, which infuriated him. He was tired of the fox constantly leaving him with his bare bottom. He even tried to shake off the annoying fox, but he held on to the guy so tightly. Meanwhile, the ship turned over even more, and people simply began to fall down. Among this horror, the princess flew on her fiery hammer and tried to save at least someone. The princess could hardly hold such a large number of people. Chu Xingqian saw all the horror that was happening around. He changed his mind and shouted to the fox to hold on to him tightly. But then, the noble Shizuo Wu began to fall out of the flying ship. While falling, the comrade hit Chu Xingqian, who was barely holding on. right in the forehead. The fox sensed something was wrong, but what could she do in such a disadvantageous position? As a result, the whole trio rushed down like a stone, trying to grab each other in flight. The princess could also barely bear the strain of trying to hold several people in the air. Her Highness muttered that it was her royal business to be a draft horse. Deftly maneuvering and occasionally releasing fire from her weapon, the princess dived closer to the water. Then she quickly threw the stowaways into the water, which was already very close. Several people, with noise and large splashes that doused the princess, plunged headlong into the water. The princess waited until the people reappeared on the surface. Hao Geng emerged, and releasing fountains of water from her mouth and ears, shouted that Her Majesty had done a great job. The princess and the victims exchanged pleasantries, and did not notice a huge shadow that floated very close under the water. The guys noticed the monster only when it opened its terrible toothed mouth. Hao Geng thought that apparently her last hour of life had come. Meanwhile, the Jinlao Academy had no idea what had happened to their students. The academy mentor wondered why the guys had been gone for so long. It's time to start studying. A man ran up to the mentor and, out of breath from running, reported that the air formation had been blown up. Although the ship managed to land, dozens of students crashed near Thunder Island. The mentor muttered that the Island of Thunder is a closed area, and even he rarely goes there, much less imagines what is inside the island. The man ordered an investigation into the cause of the ship accident, as well as organizing search and rescue operations, and trying to find all the students. Thanks to her keen sense of smell, the fox felt that there was someone next to her. Later, she saw the terrible eyes of a huge four-eyed animal. Lisa was very scared, but she also understood that she was not alone here. Not far away, Shizuo Wu and Chu Xingchen were still lying unconscious. The fox realized that some kind of decision urgently needed to be made, because if the monster saw her motionless and helpless comrades, they would be finished. The fox freed himself from his outerwear right in front of the surprised monster's nose. Then she softly jumped to the ground and began to run as fast as she could. The fox began to gradually transform into its true form. It was much easier to run that way. The monster only had time to see the bright orange tail, which was quickly moving away. The fox needed to take the monster away from her insensitive friends. An even better idea was to neutralize the monster so that it would not harm anyone. The fox performed a cunning maneuver. She jumped and quickly bent down a small tree. As the monster approached, the fox jumped from the tree trunk. It straightened up and hit the monster right between the eyes. The fox remembered learning from Chu Xingchen, and looking back, gave the stunned monster the middle finger. True, the fox was too distracted and fell into a tree trunk. The stunned fox was surprised to discover that the monster's eyes had become even larger. She thought that now she would definitely be skinned alive. From the deafening roar of the monster, the fox lost all ability to resist. Helpless and pathetic, she simply closed her eyes and waited for her fate. Having closed herself, the fox did not quite understand what was happening around her. Out of the corner of her eye, she saw the monster fly back from a very strong blow. The fox realized that by some miracle she had been saved from imminent death. She looked at her savior warily. But she saw little, since half of his body and head were covered by a black cloak with a hood. Yellow, sun-warmed sand, and gentle waves of the azure sea. The sound of the surf seemed to lull me to sleep. Therefore, Chu Xingchen had to fight against drowsiness for quite a long time after he came to his senses. Raising his head and looking around, the guy called the fox several times, but again she was nowhere to be seen. Then, Chu Xingchen saw Shizuo Wu next to him. The guy noticed that the skin on his friend's face was red. Shizuo Wu jumped up and began to look at himself in the mirror. Then he said that he couldn't go out in the sun for a while after the herbal bath. Dejected Shizuo Wu thought that his mother would scream again.